2026 is not a fresh start. It's a stress test. It will not ask what you want. It will demand what you're built to carry. The question is not whether pressure is coming. The question is whether your life has been designed to withstand it, or whether it's been held together by habits, hope, and exhaustion. Because what breaks in the next season won't be your circumstances. It will be whatever was never strong enough to last. 2026 is not waiting for you to be ready. It's waiting for you to be different. Most people don't actually want a new year. They want a new feeling. They want relief. They want things to be easier. But ease has never built anything strong. Comfort has never created capacity. And a life designed only to feel good will always break under pressure. If your life collapses the moment stress shows up, that's not bad luck. That's bad design. Reinvention is not about changing your environment. It's about changing your structure. You don't need more motivation, you need more margin. You don't need another goal, you need another identity. Because your results are not random. They are loyal. They obey who you believe you are. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your self-image. Some people keep setting bigger goals while carrying the same internal limits. That's why every new year feels like a restart instead of a continuation. If 2025 exhausted you, it wasn't because you did too much. It's because you built a life that required you to hold everything together with force. And anything that requires constant force is already breaking. A life that doesn't break is not built on hustle. Hustle is fragile. Hustle needs adrenaline. Hustle needs urgency. Hustle collapses when energy runs out. Strength comes from leverage, systems, skills, structure, strategy. When you build leverage into your life, progress continues even when you rest. Ask yourself this question honestly. If you stop working for 30 days, does your life continue or does it panic? That answer tells you everything. Reinvention in 2026 means you stop worshiping effort and start respecting effectiveness. You stop asking, how hard can I work? And start asking, how intelligently can I build? Because effort is common, value is rare, and money, opportunities, and freedom do not chase effort, they chase value. The marketplace does not reward intention, it rewards contribution. If your income is unstable, it's not because you're unlucky, it's because the level of value you offer does not yet create stability. When you solve small problems for a few people, life stays fragile. When you solve big problems for many people, life becomes resilient. Reinvention requires upgrading the problems you're willing to solve. And let's talk about pain, because many people quit right there. Pain is not a stop sign. Pain is a syllabus. Pain is information. Fragile people ask, why is this happening to me? Strong people ask, what is this teaching me? The pressure you are experiencing is not there to crush you. It's there to reveal the weak parts of your design so you can reinforce them. Nothing breaks you. It only exposes what was already brittle. You don't build an unbreakable life by avoiding pressure. You build it by learning how to carry weight. Responsibility is not the enemy. Unpreparedness is. When your capacity grows faster than your problems, stress loses its power. That's why emotions cannot be your foundation. Emotions are weather. They change daily. If you build your life on how you feel, you will rebuild it every season. Principles are laws. Laws don't negotiate. Laws don't get tired. Laws compound. Discipline compounds. Consistency compounds. Integrity compounds. Faith compounds. Long-term thinking compounds. In 2026, stop making emotional decisions and calling them intuition. Start making principled decisions and trusting the process. A life that doesn't break is boring to emotional people because it doesn't chase highs, it builds depth. Reinvention is not dramatic. It's deliberate. It's waking up and doing the same right thing again when no one is clapping. It's choosing structure over chaos, preparation over panic, stewardship over shortcuts. It's understanding that freedom is not the absence of responsibility, it's mastery of it. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You already know what to do. You're just negotiating with discomfort. You're delaying discipline. You're waiting for clarity when clarity only comes after commitment. Decide first. Align later. 2026 doesn't need a new version of your goals. It needs a new version of your standards. Raise what you tolerate. Raise what you expect from yourself. Raise what you're willing to become consistent with. Because when your identity changes, behavior follows. When behavior follows, results multiply. And when results multiply, your life gains shock absorbers. Build systems that don't collapse when you're tired. Build skills that don't depreciate when trends change. Build values that don't bend when pressure shows up. Reinvent your life, not to impress people, not to escape problems, but to build something strong enough to last. Because the goal of 2026 is not to survive. The goal is to build a life that doesn't break. Most people are not failing because they lack opportunity. They are failing because they optimize their lives for comfort instead of capacity. Comfort feels productive in the moment. It feels safe, familiar, and controllable. But comfort has a hidden cost. It shrinks your ability to carry weight. When you design your days around ease, avoidance, and convenience, you slowly lose the strength required to handle pressure, responsibility, and growth. Then, when life inevitably demands more from you, it feels overwhelming. Not because the demand is unreasonable, but because your capacity was never engineered to meet it. Capacity is your ability to endure stress without breaking, to make decisions without panic, to carry responsibility without resentment, and to grow without collapse. Comfort avoids stress, capacity absorbs it. Comfort asks, how can I make this easier? Capacity asks, how can I become stronger? One leads to fragility, the other to resilience. A comfortable life looks good when conditions are favorable, but it falls apart when uncertainty shows up. A life built on capacity may feel demanding, but it remains stable when pressure increases. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you trade short-term relief for long-term weakness. Skipping discipline feels good today, but creates chaos tomorrow. Avoiding hard conversations preserves peace temporarily, but compounds conflict later. Delaying responsibility reduces stress now, but multiplies it in the future. Comfort always invoices later. With interest, capacity, on the other hand, pays dividends. The discipline you practice today becomes the margin you rely on tomorrow. The discomfort you face early becomes the strength you depend on later. Engineering capacity requires intentional design. It means structuring your life so it does not rely on motivation, mood, or favorable conditions. It means building routines that function even when energy is low, principles that guide decisions when emotions are high, and systems that continue producing results when effort fluctuates. Capacity is not accidental, it is constructed. It is built through repetition, consistency, and deliberate exposure to challenge. Pressure does not destroy people, it reveals them. When stress arrives, it exposes whether your life was built for performance or for preservation. If every setback feels catastrophic, it's a signal that your margin is too thin. If every demand feels overwhelming, it's a sign that your capacity has not kept pace with your responsibilities. The solution is not to demand less from life, it is to demand more from yourself in preparation. Capacity grows when you stop negotiating with discomfort, when you do the hard thing without needing the perfect mood, when you take responsibility before you feel ready, when you choose structure over spontaneity and preparation over preference. These decisions may feel heavy in the moment, but they create a life that is light under pressure. Strength is built quietly, long before it is needed publicly. A life engineered for capacity does not break when routines are disrupted, when income fluctuates, or when expectations rise. It bends, adapts, and holds. That is the difference between living reactively and living by design. Comfort reacts to life. Capacity leads it. The goal is not to live a harder life for the sake of hardship. The goal is to live a stronger life, one that does not collapse when demands increase. When you stop optimizing comfort and start engineering capacity, you don't just survive challenging seasons, you become dependable in them. And in a world that constantly applies pressure, capacity is the ultimate form of security. Your results are not random, accidental, or unlucky. They are obedient. They follow instructions, and those instructions come from your identity. Not the identity you talk about, but the one you consistently act from. Every outcome in your life is responding to who you believe you are allowed to be, what you believe you deserve, and what you believe is possible for someone like you. Until that changes, results will remain familiar, no matter how many strategies you try or goals you set. Most people try to change their lives by changing their actions, but actions are downstream from identity. Behavior is a mirror. You can force new habits for a while, but if they conflict with your self-image, they eventually collapse. You will always return to what feels normal, even when normal is dysfunctional. That is why some people self-sabotage right before a breakthrough. Success begins to challenge their identity, and their subconscious pulls them back to safety. Identity answers questions long before you consciously ask them. How much effort you apply, how long you persist, what you tolerate, what you avoid, what you believe is for people like you. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will unconsciously recreate struggle. If you see yourself as someone who survives, you will resist thriving. Your identity is the thermostat that regulates your results. When results rise above it, behavior adjusts to bring them back down. This is why motivation fades and resolutions fail. Are trying to live a future identity with a past self-image. You are asking a version of you that was built for survival to suddenly produce expansion. The system rejects it. Real transformation does not begin with doing more, it begins with becoming different. When your identity changes, discipline feels natural instead of forced. Consistency feels aligned instead of exhausting. Your standards reveal your identity more clearly than your intentions. What you tolerate is not an accident, it is an agreement. Low standards are not a lack of information, they are a reflection of self-perception. People do not accept less because they are unaware of better. They accept less because better feels unfamiliar and unsafe. Raising your results requires raising your internal reference point for what is normal. Identity is shaped through evidence. Every small promise you keep to yourself reinforces a stronger self-image. Every promise you break weakens it. That is why consistency matters more than intensity. One intense burst of effort does not change identity, but repeated alignment between words and actions does. Over time, your nervous system adapts to the new normal, and behaviors that once felt difficult begin to feel obvious. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your identity. Goals are targets. Identity is gravity. If you want different outcomes, you must challenge the story you tell yourself about who you are, not with affirmati, ons that ignore reality, but with actions that create new proof. Identity shifts when you do what your old self would not do, especially when no one is watching. When you see yourself as disciplined, you don't negotiate with excuses. When you see yourself as valuable, you don't underprice your work or overextend your boundaries. When you see yourself as capable, you don't quit at the first sign of resistance. Your life aligns with the version of you that you consistently reinforce. Change the identity, and the results will follow without force. But if the identity stays the same, no strategy will save you. Your results are not rebelling against you. They are obeying you, faithfully, predictably, and without exception. Hustle is celebrated because it looks impressive, but leverage is powerful because it works. Hustle depends on constant effort, long hours, and personal energy. Leverage depends on structure, strategy, and systems that multiply output without multiplying exhaustion. When hustle stops, progress stops. When leverage is in place, results continue even when you step away. That is why hustle feels heroic but fragile, while leverage feels quiet but durable. Many people confuse movement with momentum. They stay busy, work harder, and push longer, believing effort alone will protect them. But effort without leverage creates a life that is always one crisis away from collapse. If your income, impact, or progress disappears the moment you rest, then your life is not buoy. ALT, it is being manually held together. Hustle requires constant force, and anything that requires constant force is already failing. Leverage is the ability to get more results from the same or less effort by using assets instead of energy. Assets can be skills that compound, systems that repeat, processes that scale, or decisions that remove friction. When you build leverage, you stop trading time for outcomes and start designing outcomes that persist over time. This is how stability is created, not by working harder, but by working from a position of advantage. Hustle keeps you reactive. Leverage makes you proactive. Hustle responds to problems as they appear. Leverage reduces how often problems appear in the first place. Systems prevent errors. Processes reduce decision fatigue. Strategy eliminates unnecessary work. Most burnout is not caused by too much work. It is caused by poorly designed work that demands constant attention and emotional energy. Leverage also creates resilience. When your life is built entirely on personal effort, illness, fatigue, or distraction become threats. But when your life is supported by systems, skills, and structures, setbacks become manageable instead of catastrophic. Leverage gives you margin. Margin gives you clarity, and clarity improves decision-making under pressure. This does not mean effort is irrelevant. Effort is required, but only in the right phase. Hustle is useful at the beginning, but it should never be the foundation. Why effort should be invested in building leverage, not replacing it. The mistake most people make is they continue hustling long after leverage should have taken over. They confuse being busy with being effective. Leverage shifts your focus from doing more to designing better. Instead of asking, how can I work longer? You ask, how can I remove myself from this task without losing results? Instead of solving the same problem repeatedly, you solve it once at the system level. This is how progress compounds instead of restarting every day. A leveraged life does not panic when conditions change. It adapts. Trends shift, energy fluctuates, and responsibilities increase. But systems absorb the pressure. Hustle cracks under weight. Leverage distributes it. That is why the most stable lives are not built by the hardest workers, but by the smartest builders. When you understand leverage, you stop glorifying exhaustion. You stop confusing sacrifice with sustainability. You realize that freedom, impact, and growth are not rewards for suffering. They are outcomes of intelligent design. Hustle may get you started, but leverage is what carries you forward. Every time. Pain is not proof that something is wrong. It is proof that something is happening. Yet most people interpret pain as a warning to retreat, slow down, or quit. They assume discomfort means misalignment, when in reality it often means development. Pain is not designed to stop you. It is designed to instruct you. The problem is not pain itself, but the meaning you assign to it. When pain is misunderstood, it becomes discouragement. When pain is interpreted correctly, it becomes wisdom. Every meaningful level of growth introduces resistance. Muscles only strengthen when they are stressed. Skills only sharpen when they are challenged. Character only matures when it is tested. If growth were painless, everyone would evolve. Pain is the filter that separates those who are willing to learn from those who only want relief. Fragile lives try to escape pain. Strong lives extract insight from it. Pain exposes weaknesses that comfort hides. It reveals gaps in preparation, flaws in systems, and limits in mindset. When pressure increases, whatever is underdeveloped becomes visible. This is not punishment, it is feedback. Pain shows you where reinforcement is needed. Ignoring that feedback does not remove the weakness. It guarantees future failure at a higher cost. Most quitting is not caused by inability, but by misinterpretation. People assume that struggle means they are not meant for the task. But difficulty is not a verdict, it is a curriculum. The lesson is not always to push harder, it is to adjust strategy, strengthen skills, or redesign structure. Pain is asking a question, not delivering a conclusion. Those who grow resilient stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That shift changes everything. Pain stops being an enemy and becomes an advisor. Instead of draining energy, it directs it. Instead of creating fear, it creates clarity. You no longer waste strength resisting reality. You invest strength responding intelligently to it. Avoiding pain does not make life easier, it makes it weaker. Unchallenged systems decay, unexamined habits stagnate, untested character remains fragile. When pain is constantly avoided, small problems remain small only temporarily. Eventually they compound into crises. Short-term comfort produces long-term instability. Endurance is built by learning how to stay present under pressure, not numbing it, not dramatizing it, not running from it. Pain trains emotional regulation, decision-making, and patience. These qualities cannot be learned in theory. They are earned through exposure. This is why people who have endured hardship often carry calm in chaos. They have learned how to listen instead of panic. Pain also refines priorities. It strips away what is unnecessary and forces focus on what matters. When life becomes uncomfortable, distractions lose their appeal. Excuses lose their credibility. What remains is what is essential. Pain simplifies. It removes noise and reveals truth. Quitting may provide immediate relief, but it steals long-term strength. When you quit at the first sign of discomfort, you teach yourself that pressure is dangerous and that escape is the solution. Over time, tolerance for difficult, why shrinks, and even minor challenges feel overwhelming. Strength is not lost suddenly. It erodes quietly through repeated avoidance. Pain does not mean stop. It means pay attention, learn faster, adjust wisely, build deeper. When treated as a teacher, pain accelerates growth instead of delaying it. It does not break you. It prepares you. And those who learn from pain don't just survive difficult seasons, they leave them stronger than they entered. Many people work hard their entire lives and still struggle financially, not because they are lazy or incapable, but because they believe a dangerous myth. That money is a reward for effort. Effort feels fair, effort feels moral, but the marketplace does not run on fairness, it runs on value. Money moves toward usefulness, impact, and problem solving, not toward exhaustion. You can work long hours, sacrifice endlessly, and still remain financially fragile if the value you provide does not justify greater reward. Effort is invisible unless it produces results. No one pays for how tired you are, how long you stayed up, or how much you struggled. They pay for outcomes. They pay for relief from pain, solutions to problems, and progress toward desired results. When people exchange money, they are not compensating labor. They are purchasing value. The sooner this is understood, the sooner financial growth becomes intentional instead of frustrating. Value is determined by three things: the size of the problem you solve, the number of people you solve it for, and the difficulty of replacing you. Solving small problems limits income, no matter how hard you work. Solving large problems expands opportunity. Solving the same problem for many people multiplies income. Developing rare or difficult to replace skills increases leverage. None of these require more hustle. They require more thought, more skill, and more strategic positioning. This is why two people can work equally hard and earn radically different outcomes. One is applying effort to low leverage activities. The other is applying skill to high value problems. The difference is not character, it is comprehension. Those who understand value stop asking for raises based on effort and start creating opportunities based on contribution. Hard work without direction leads to burnout. Hard work applied to the wrong problem leads to stagnation. Value creation requires discernment. It asks, what matters most? Who needs this? What result am I actually delivering? When these questions are answered clearly, effort becomes efficient instead of exhausting. Value also compounds. Effort resets every day. Value, once created, continues to pay. A skill can be used repeatedly. A system can serve thousands. A solution can scale far beyond the time it took to build it. This is how financial stability is created, not by working more hours, but by building assets that keep producing long after the initial effort is complete. Many people under-earn because they underestimate the value they provide or fail to communicate it. If people do not understand the outcome you deliver, they cannot justify paying more for it. Value must be clear, visible, and measurable. Confidence in pricing is not arrogance, it is alignment with contribution. Money is a signal. It points toward what the world finds useful. When income is low, it is not a personal insult, it is feedback. It reveals where value can be increased, refined, or repositioned. Those who respond to this feedback grow. Those who resent it stay stuck. Effort is honorable, but it is not the metric. Value is the multiplier. When you focus on becoming more useful, more impactful, and more effective, money follows naturally. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it in the only way that lasts. Most people build their lives on how they feel and then wonder why everything keeps shifting. Emotions are powerful, but they are unstable. They rise and fall with circumstances, energy, and environment. When emotions become the foundation for decisions, life becomes reactive. One good day produces momentum. One bad day produces retreat. Over time, inconsistency replaces progress, and instability becomes normal. A life built on emotions will always feel fragile because its foundation keeps moving. Principles are different. Principles are fixed laws that do not negotiate with mood or circumstance. They hold steady when emotions fluctuate. When you build from principles, decisions are already made before pressure arrives. You don't ask how you feel, you act according to what you believe. This removes chaos, reduces fatigue, and creates alignment. Principles turn life from a series of emotional reactions into a coherent system. Emotional decision-making feels honest in the moment, but it is short-sighted. Emotions prioritize immediate relief over long-term benefit. They avoid discomfort, exaggerate fear, and rationalize delay. That is why emotional choices often feel right now, but feel costly later. Principles, on the other hand, prioritize outcome over comfort. They anchor behavior to long-term vision instead of short-term mood. Discipline only feels heavy when it is negotiated daily. When behavior is governed by principle, discipline becomes automatic. You do not debate whether to show up, prepare, or follow through. You do it because that is who you are and what you stand for. This consistency builds trust with yourself, and self-trust becomes the foundation for confidence. Principles also create resilience. When pressure increases, emotional people panic because their decision-making framework collapses. Principled people adapt because their foundation remains intact. They may feel fear, doubt, or fatigue, but those emotions do not control their actions. Principles provide direction when emotions create noise. Living by principles does not mean ignoring emotions. It means refusing to be ruled by them. Emotions are data, not commands. They inform awareness but do not dictate action. When you acknowledge emotion without obeying it, you gain control. This is how maturity is developed. Not by suppressing feeling, but by placing it in its proper role. A principled life compounds. Small, consistent decisions made according to clear values create momentum that emotions cannot disrupt. Over time, structure replaces stress, order replaces overwhelm, progress becomes predictable. This is why principled lives may appear boring from the outside, but they are powerful from the inside. Stability is often mistaken for stagnation by those addicted to emotional highs. When you build from principles, you stop reinventing yourself every season. You stop abandoning plans because motivation faded. You stop confusing temporary feelings with permanent truth. Instead, you create continuity. You become someone who finishes, follows through, and remains steady under pressure. The strongest lives are not the most emotionally expressive. They are the most structurally sound. They are built on convictions that do not change when circumstances do. Emotions come and go. Principles remain. And whatever is built on what remains is what lasts. As you step into 2026, understand this. The goal is not to avoid pressure, struggle, or uncertainty. Those things are inevitable. The goal is to become the kind of person whose life can carry them without breaking. That kind of life is not built accidentally. It is designed on capacity instead of comfort, on identity instead of wishful thinking, on leverage instead of exhaustion, on learning instead of quitting, on value instead of effort, and on principles instead of emotions. Reinvention does not require a dramatic moment. It requires a decisive one, a decision to stop living reactively and start living intentionally, a decision to build systems that hold when motivation fades, standards that rise when pressure increases, and values that guide you when emotions fluctuate. 2026 will reward what is solid and expose what is fragile. Let it expose nothing you are unwilling to strengthen. Build with wisdom, build with patience, build with conviction. And when the weight increases, as it always does, you will not be scrambling to survive. You will be standing, steady, prepared, and unbreakable.